When Lila went blind, I found her and took her home. She loved to nibble on my ear and tell me she was my good girl. She also loved to map out my body with her hands in the darkness, saying she wanted to memorize my shape. Then her sight returned, and it turned out she was the missing heiress of the Harrison family, and she already had a fiancé before she ever saw my face. I left behind a death certificate and disappeared completely. After hiding for 5 years, I only dared to resurface when I heard she was getting married. But the moment my plane landed, the airport was swarmed by bodyguards in black suits. Lila stood there, holding a custom-made groom's tuxedo. Her smile was gentle yet obsessive. The measurements from 5 years ago are off. Be good. I'm going to trace you all over again, she said. Agent Kate pulled me to the door of the private dining room, but I froze, not daring to go in, because the Harrison family heiress, Lila, was sitting right inside. Through the slightly ajar door, I heard someone fawning over her. Miss Harrison, I heard you had an accident, went missing, and even lost your sight. That must have been a very difficult time. Lila let out a soft, elegant laugh. Difficult? Not at all. I had someone taking care of me around the clock. It was an easier life than the one I have now. That must have been your fiancé, right? What a story of devotion through hardship. Congratulations on your upcoming wedding. A true happily ever after, no? Lila cut him off, her sweet voice light but detached. It wasn't him. The one who took care of me is right here. I flinched, my head snapping up. Through the crack in the door, I saw Lila raise a finger and point toward the ground. Beneath us, buried right here. Oh right, I was already dead 5 years ago. My death certificate had been personally signed and confirmed by Lila herself. My agent, who was also eavesdropping, whispered, "That guy was so unlucky. If he hadn't died, he would have hit the jackpot by now." I managed a small smile. Impossible. Alex agreed. Why are you so sure? To get the heiress to let him take care of her so intimately, he must have been incredibly skilled. That man's seduction techniques must have been top-notch. I lowered my eyes, hiding the guilt. Sometimes, I couldn't even tell who seduced whom. During our first time together, back then her blindness had made her hearing exceptionally sharp. I had only whispered something quietly in her ear, but to her, the sound was like an explosion, a cranial orgasm. I was so innocent and curious back then. I asked her what exactly is an orgasm. As she explained, she reached out to touch my heart, but accidentally brushed against somewhere else. Instantly, her neck and collarbones flushed a deep red. Seeing her turn red and stiffen up, I thought she was dying and burst into tears, lunging forward to give her CPR. She wrapped her arms around me and silenced my lips with her own. I was lost in that memory when a waiter pushing a cart suddenly bumped into me. I let out an involuntary "ah." The impact pushed the private room's door wide open. Lila, seated directly facing the door, abruptly lifted her gaze and looked straight at me. Our eyes met in that instant. All the blood in my body seemed to freeze, and I couldn't even manage to turn away. But it only lasted a few seconds. I have the last 5 years of being knocked around by society to thank for the fake smile I've perfected. It's funny, really. Even though Lila and I had shared a bed for 2 years, and her slender hands had caressed my face and body more times than my own, to her, I was just a ghost she had never even seen. So what if we'd slept together? How could she possibly recognize someone whose face she'd never laid eyes on? Just as I expected, Lila didn't recognize me when our glasses clinked. Her eyes were bright, but cool. The way they lingered on me sent a strange tingle down my spine, just like the first time I saw her. It was a stormy, thundering night. I had just lost my mother forever at the hospital. On my tearful walk home, I tripped over something in a dark alley. It was Lila, soaked to the bone against a wall, barely conscious, a complete wreck. Under the faint glow of a streetlight, her cheeks were covered in scrapes, but her face was still so exquisitely beautiful, it took my breath away. Her almond-shaped eyes were bleeding, yet they held a look of sharp vigilance and coldness. I was scared, wanted to run, but then I thought of my mom. Mom had been in so much pain on her hospital bed. If only someone could have saved her. In the end, I carried Lila back to my shabby little rental apartment and used all my savings to get her medical treatment. I was uneducated and destitute then, so I couldn't tell how expensive her clothes were. I just assumed she was homeless like me. I even thought it was my mom's spirit watching over me from heaven, sending her to me so I wouldn't be lonely. I thought I had a family again, someone to care about. Suddenly, Kate nudged my hand. What are you thinking about? You're even smiling. I snapped back to reality, my smile turning stiff. Seeing my reaction, Kate suddenly said, Ethan, don't tell me you've fallen for Lila. Let me warn you, she's famous for being untouchable. The guys who try to get close to her end up in a bad way. Her fiancé, her childhood sweetheart, the prince of New York's elite circle, Dylan, they're deeply in love. Don't get mesmerized by her. A woman like that is out of your league. One wrong move, and you'll have made a powerful enemy. An enemy? Well, about that. The day I decided to leave Lila, I tied her to my $100 bed and rode her hard for 3 hours. I also told her that I had only kept her around for 2 years to stave off my own loneliness, that it was just a game. I said a rich woman had taken a liking to me and was going to be my sugar mama, so I didn't want her anymore. Lila's face was flushed, and she had screamed herself hoarse, crying, Ethan, don't you let me catch you. I'll ride you until you can't take it anymore. For a pampered heiress like her, I imagine even going blind wasn't as humiliating as that. I had already offended her beyond repair. Thankfully, I was dead. For that, I had her fiancé to thank. Anyway, after this toast tonight, Lila and I would never cross paths again. With that thought, I casually wandered out to the hotel garden. Looking up, I saw a slender figure standing there, a long, thin cigarette held between her snow-white fingers. It was Lila. She turned and looked at me just as I was trying to figure out how to handle the situation. She suddenly called out in my direction, Resurrection. I froze. Resurrection. She recognized me? Thankfully, before I completely lost my composure and outed myself, a small dog darted out from behind me and affectionately rubbed against my leg. It was the little mutt I used to have. I could never decide on a name for him. And because of my indecisiveness, Lila had adopted him and named him Resurrection. Resurrection of what? Me, the guy who faked his own death? A chill ran down my spine for no reason. If she found out I wasn't dead, that I had tricked her, the consequences would be unimaginable. Resurrection, stop it, Lila said, extinguishing her cigarette and smiling. She beckoned to the dog, but the little guy hadn't seen me in so long. He was ecstatically bouncing around my feet. It seems my dog likes you very much. Lila's gaze landed on my face, calm yet profound. I feigned composure, even grateful for the dog circling my feet, giving me an excuse for the unconcealable nervousness on my face. I'm sorry. It's probably the smell of meat on me. Some steak juice splashed on me earlier. I should get going, Miss Harrison. But before I could take a step, Lila spoke again. Being a dog can be a happy life. I stopped. What do you mean? As a dog, if you're good enough, your master will reward you. There's nothing wrong with being a good dog. Once, in the heat of passion, Lila would lie on top of me, nibbling my ear and cooing, I'm Ethan's good girl. My heart leaped into my throat. I clenched my fists. I'm sorry, Miss Harrison. I'm a human. I don't know much about dogs. My blunt, straightforward response cast a pall of silence over the moment. I was looking for an excuse to leave when Lila suddenly asked, Then if you had a good dog, would you abandon it? I wouldn't get a dog. Why? Because you can't handle the responsibility? I had lost my mom. I had lost Lila. I had lost my little mutt. I would never allow myself to have a weakness again. I still need to go make some toasts. I won't disturb you any longer, Miss Harrison. I turned to leave, but the little dog leaped at me. I tried to hurry away, afraid I might step on him, stumbled, and pitched forward. A pair of slender hands wrapped around my waist from behind, just like they used to. What's wrong? Are you not feeling well? Her back was pressed against her soft chest, and her gentle, urging voice was in my ear. It was just like our 2 years together. She was so caring, so concerned about me. It made me believe we could love each other until the end of time. Lila, why are you out in the garden for so long? Suddenly, a refined male voice sounded behind us. I didn't need to turn around to know who it was. Dylan. The voice that shatters beautiful dreams is always one you remember clearly. For me, that was Dylan. I remember it vividly. Dylan stepping into my shabby rental with his expensive leather shoes, and the first thing he said was, Lila slept in this dump for 2 years. The things she'll endure for our future. I'm not usually a weak person, but looking at the distinguished and imposing Dylan, I couldn't even form a rebuttal. For the first time, I shed tears of shame for my poverty. But it's okay now, because my soul is no longer impoverished and struggling. I quickly pushed Lila away and stood steady on my own. Dylan walked over from behind us, and when he saw my face, his pupils contracted for a split second, but he recovered in moments. His acting skills were better than mine. Dylan smiled and asked me, "Hello. You must be the new singer Kate's agency just signed, right?" "Yes." "Then why were you and Lila hugging just now?" Dylan looked at Lila. "Lila, aren't you afraid of making your future husband jealous?" "Fiancé." Lila repeated the word, her long lashes fluttering, but her watery eyes were fixed squarely on me, and it felt like molten lava churning within them. I was startled by the dog. "Thank you for helping me up, Miss Harrison. I'll let you two get back to it," I said without a change in my expression and started to walk away. But Lila, in her high heels, moved to block my path. She took a wedding invitation from her pocket and handed it to me. "My wedding is in a month. You have to be there." Her voice was clear and beautiful, and it was a command, not a request. Dylan chuckled. "Lila, you're really something else. Sealing the invitation so no one sees the bride and groom's names until the day of. Who does that?" I had no interest in listening to their banter. I politely took the invitation and left. On the way back to my room, I tore it up and tossed it in a trash can, not noticing the small and from Ethan visible on a torn corner. I thought my reunion with Lila was just a fluke. I didn't dwell on it and focused on my career until Kate told me a major director wanted me to sing the theme song for his new movie. At my current level of fame, this was like winning the lottery. It wasn't until I got to the studio and saw Lila that I realized it wasn't the lottery at all. The heiress had specifically requested me. My sociable agent Kate dragged me over to greet everyone. When we got to Lila, she was the one who deigned to speak first. "Mr. Miller, long time no see." Kate quickly corrected her with a nervous laugh. "Miss Harrison, his last name is Hayes. He's Ethan Hayes." My heart hammered in my chest. After I faked my death, I moved away, got a new identity, and took my mother's last name. But Ethan was the name my mom gave me, and I couldn't bear to change it. It wasn't an uncommon name, after all. Lila's gaze locked onto me. "Perhaps I misremembered," she said nonchalantly. "I had an old friend who also had Ethan in his name, but his last name was Miller. The more you talk, the more you risk a mistake." So I just kept quiet and gave a socially awkward smile. Kate shot me a look, annoyed at my lack of initiative. I pretended not to see it. At lunch, the staff brought out meals, fruit salad. The one they handed me had mango in it. I'm allergic to mangoes, a fact Lila knew better than anyone. But if I refused it now, she would only become more suspicious. My allergic reaction isn't that severe, just some hives that a single Claritin can handle. Compared to the trouble that would come from being exposed, it was a tiny price to pay. I tore open the fruit salad container and, right in front of Lila, speared a piece of mango and was about to put it in my mouth. The next second, Lila herself reached out and snatched the fork from my hand. Her movement was imperious, like a spoiled heiress throwing a tantrum. The mango fell onto the table. My agent was stunned. "Ms. Harrison." Lila even took the salad from in front of me. I heard her instructing her assistant as she walked away, "I'll eat this one. Get him a hot meal with rice." Soon, an assistant brought me a full-course meal with soup. It was from Per Se, a meal from their costs at least $1,000. Kate was dumbfounded. She whispered to me, "Ethan, did you go behind my back and get with her? Did you win her over?" "Kate, didn't you say she's untouchable? But the way she looks at you, I don't know how to describe it. It's like you're the only person she cares about in this huge room. She only has eyes for you." My hand holding the chopsticks tightened. Only cared about me? I guess it wasn't so ridiculous that I fell for her act back then. Look, even a sharp, successful woman like Kate was being fooled. When I first brought Lila home, she was blind and her injuries were severe. I was so poor that every piece of clothing I owned was patched. I did consider sending her to a shelter, but it was as if Lila sensed my thoughts. The moment I got up to open the door, she grabbed the hem of my shirt with her wounded hand. Don't send me away." She looked straight at me, though her eyes were blind. They were dazzling and captivating as the sun, capable of pulling you in effortlessly. My heart instantly softened. I asked her where her parents and family were. She said she didn't know. She kept her head down, her sharp, delicate face still marked with healing cuts, looking like a lost little kitten. I figured she must have been cruelly abandoned, which caused her to lose her memory. I started working 3 jobs a day to earn money for her treatment. Every night when I came home from work, Lila would hug me, warming my hands and feet. Ethan, you've worked so hard. When my eyes get better, I'll give you the most comfortable life, the best environments. You'll never have to work this hard again. You'll live in comfort for the rest of your life. I'm sorry, Ethan, this is my fault. You're so tired. Just wait a little longer for me. I promise I'll make it happen. Her hands and feet were warm, and when she pressed them against my chest, that warmth spread through my whole body straight to my heart. Hearing her say that filled me with a soft, sweet bliss. I didn't even question how she could make such confident, easy promises, nor did I notice the flicker of guilt and forbearance in her eyes. How could it be your fault? I'm a man. It's my job to earn money and support our family. Honey, I've been thinking, once we save up enough money, we'll go to Johns Hopkins to get your eyes checked. I hear they have the best ophthalmology department there. No matter what, I'm going to get you cured so you can see the world with me. If we can, we'll have kids. If not, that's fine too. We'll be each other's most cherished child. And one day, I'm going to buy a house that's ours, so you can live more comfortably, not in a place so small that it leaks and has power outages. Whenever I rambled on like this, Lila would just hug me tighter, tilt her face up and kiss me relentlessly, then climb on top of me, teasing and provoking me. That way, the only thing my mouth could be used for was kissing her, not for saying anything else. Looking back now, Lila probably didn't want to hear me talk. After all, my beautiful dreams were just the stuff of an ordinary person's life, and she was an heiress from Manhattan's elite, born with a silver spoon in her mouth. Her idea of a comfortable life and mine were completely different. In that small, dilapidated rental, we were two lonely souls huddling together for warmth, but outside that rental, we were two people from different worlds, separated by a chasm. During a break in the recording session, Dylan showed up. The Prince of New York's elite, Lila's childhood sweetheart, naturally drew a lot of attention. Dylan passed out afternoon tea to everyone, finally handing a homemade chestnut pastry to Lila. What brings you here today? To listen to a theme song recording? You seemed really engrossed just now. Lila didn't take the bait. Her tone was flat. Because I had to see someone very important. The crowd immediately started oohing and awing. Dylan also wore a doting smile. Someone bold asked, Ms. Harrison, is your wedding with Mr. Crawford set for next month? Lila's tone shifted from flat to solemn. Yes, at the wedding next month, I will confess my love to the one I adore. I didn't listen any further. I went out to the terrace to clear my head. That 8-course lunch was too much. My brain was foggy from the carbs. After getting some air, I was about to head back down when I heard voices coming from a side door. Lila, do you think that singer Ethan sounds like him? It was Dylan speaking. Yes, but he's been dead for 5 years. You were the one who told me to give him some money to appease him. I just gave him a little extra, and he took the cash and left without a second thought. He clearly didn't love you that much. He obviously loved the money more. Actually, Dylan was mistaken. I wasn't smart enough back then to know that money was more important than a woman. I took the money so readily for other reasons. 1. I was unsophisticated and had been utterly humiliated by Dylan. 2. About half a month before Dylan showed up at my door, I had actually seen a meeting with Lila. That day, my boss at my part-time job had to close early, so I went home sooner than usual. But I saw the woman who was supposed to be blind and amnesiac standing in the courtyard, hugging a handsome man. Her eyes were open and clear, shining with a coquettish light, and her gaze turned sharp. She didn't look blind at all. The only one who was blind was me. Back then, I was so cowardly and insecure it was laughable. Seeing that scene, my heart twisted in pain, and I squatted on a street corner and cried for a long time. But when I got home, I still pretended nothing had happened. I didn't even dare to ask her about it. I was afraid of knowing the truth, afraid that Lila would leave and I would be all alone again. It was only later, when Dylan showed up with the money and showed me all sorts of intimate photos of him and Lila, including bed photos, that this honest guy finally snapped. My mom had always told me not to be with a woman who had been with someone else, that such a woman wasn't worth my wholehearted devotion. So after I wrote Lila off for 3 angry hours, I went along with Dylan's fake death plan, took the money, and disappeared. The only thing I regret now is that I didn't ask for more money back then. A week after the photo shoot, nothing happened. I figured Lila had probably been convinced by Dylan and wouldn't be testing me anymore. That night, I was packing my bags to leave the city while my agent Kate scrolled through her Facebook feed. Hey, a friend of mine says the heiress's dog ran away. They've been looking for it for days and can't find it. The little mutt was lost when I faked my death and left. I couldn't take the dog with me. I entrusted him to the family that ran the roast chicken stand at the end of the alley, figuring he could always scrounge for some bones and scraps there. The heiress bought a new dog. I guess she's given up on finding the old one. Kate's words made me even more anxious. It seemed that heartless woman wasn't going to look for him. I hailed a cab in the rain and rushed back to my old rental apartment. Sure enough, the door was open. I hurriedly closed my umbrella and ran inside. Little guy, I knew you'd be here. Click. The light turned on. The little mutt wasn't there. Instead, sitting at the old plastic table was an out-of-place slender figure. A lit cigarette was in her hand, and when she looked up at me, her eyes were redder than the glowing tip. Ethan, you're back. It was Lila. The moment I saw the little mutt tied to her leg, I knew I had walked into a trap, but I still wanted to make a last-ditch effort. Miss Harrison, what did you just call me? Lila stared at me unblinking. That night, Resurrection was so affectionate with you. He never approaches strangers. The wedding invitation I gave you, you tore it up and threw it in the trash. If you really didn't know me, you wouldn't have done that. Attending the wedding would have been good for your networking. I had you brought in to record the song, and the moment you opened your mouth to sing, I knew it was you. And the mango, I saw the hesitation in your eyes, but you deliberately tried to eat it in front of me. That full-course meal, you didn't eat the cilantro, and you didn't eat the mushrooms. And besides all that, Ethan, I've touched you countless times. Did you really think I wouldn't recognize you? Since my cover was completely blown, I decided to drop the act. Yes, I'm Ethan. So, Miss Harrison, what can I do for you? You think you can just sleep with a woman and run? Lila walked towards me in her high heels, radiating fury. I thought she would be angry enough to slap me a few times. After all, when I rode her that time, I was really rough. My own legs were sore for a month. I'm sure it was no different for her. But when Lila reached me, she stretched out her hand and placed it on my face. Her soft fingertips traced my features with extreme gentleness. So you look exactly as I imagined all these years. I've sketched your face in my mind thousands upon thousands of times. You're very handsome, she said, her eyes locked on mine. You're the most handsome man I've ever seen. I didn't flinch, my voice calm. Was it fun, Miss Harrison? Lila's hand paused. Ethan, she whispered my name. You're the high and mighty heiress now. Back on top with power and wealth at your fingertips. Are you feeling nostalgic? Reminiscing about the little slum love game you used to play? You really want to play? Fine. Give me money, and I'll play with you. I looked straight at her. Perhaps my serious expression angered her. She stared at me, grinding her teeth. Is money all you want? You'd give up your name, your home, everything for money, wouldn't you? Yes. Not only that, I took $3 million back then and had to fake my death and disappear. Looking back, I was so stupid. You're the heiress of the top-tier Harrison family. For saving your life, I should have taken $30 million. Lila suddenly scooped me up, stood on her tiptoes, and crushed her lips against mine. With one hand, she ripped the belt from her dress and expertly tied my hands together. Her red lips slowly moved down to my collarbone. I couldn't escape, so I didn't bother trying. You want to sleep with me? Bring it on. What do I have to be afraid of? I slept with you when you were blind. Now you're the high and mighty heiress. Sleeping with you now is a total win for me. My words clearly infuriated Lila. She pushed against my chest, trying to shove me onto that $100 bed. Then, as if remembering something, she grabbed my arm and dragged me out the door. I was taken by Lila to a villa. She pulled me out of the car, and as we entered, she knelt down to change my shoes into warm cotton slippers. The next second, she stood up, wrapped her arms around my neck, forced me down, and kissed me fiercely. In the brief moment she was biting my neck, I deliberately provoked her again. Why not at the rental? Does the great heiress think that place is too dirty and beneath her now? The movement of her red lips paused. You have rhinitis. The blankets there haven't been changed in a long time. It's too dusty. I was stunned for a moment, but quickly regained my composure. I was no longer the naive, foolish boy who would burst into tears of gratitude at the slightest bit of warmth. Because once your soul is no longer impoverished, You realize you can provide that warmth for yourself. Just then, I sneezed. Snot ran uncontrollably down my nose, getting on the back of Lila's hand. But she didn't seem disgusted at all. She immediately got up, grabbed a tissue, and wiped it for me. She took a nasal spray from the fridge and brewed a cup of hot red date and flower tea, handing it to me. She was so well prepared. Does a man live here? I gave a humorless smile. You're so considerate, Miss Harrison. Do you take care of Mr. Crawford like this too? Why would I take care of him? I have nothing to do with him. Nothing to do with him? When you're about to get married, you New York elites really play some wild games. I'm not marrying him. Our so-called engagement was just something our parents casually mentioned when we were kids. The wedding invitations have been sent out, and you're saying this? Lila, do you ever tell the truth? Lila looked up at me, a hint of nervousness in her eyes. Ethan, if I said I want to marry you. Impossible. I cut her off. Lila, do you really think after everything that's happened, I would still marry you? Lila's red lips trembled. No matter what I say, you won't believe me anymore, will you? That's right. The moment I found out you were faking your amnesia to deceive me, Lila, I stopped wanting to believe you. We've been strangers for a long time. You go your heiress way, and I'll be a regular guy. We will have nothing to do with each other. I remained calm, even smiling as I spoke to her. Lila didn't say anything. The arrogant, domineering fire she had when she kissed me was suddenly extinguished. She lowered her head, her long black hair falling forward, her beautiful, delicate features becoming submissive. She knelt before me, her slender, pale hand holding the tissue I had used trembling slightly. There it was again, that look of a small, pleading kitten. I ignored it. After a long moment, Lila spoke, her voice hoarse. Ethan, will you come to my wedding? No. I refused without a second thought. I want you to be there. If you come to my wedding, I'll give you one of Olympus Records' exclusive annual contracts. Please, Ethan. Her hoarse voice seemed to hold a hint of a plea. I didn't bother to analyze it. I agreed in a heartbeat. Fine. Olympus Records was the top record label in the industry. For a newcomer with no connections like me, a contract like that was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. She was giving it away for free. Why wouldn't I take it? Then it's a deal. Ethan, you have to come. Lila drove me back to my apartment. Before she left, she stressed again that I absolutely had to come to the wedding. I couldn't figure out what strange fetish this heiress had, wanting her ex-boyfriend at her wedding. I couldn't figure it out, and I didn't bother trying. When I got back to my apartment, I found someone I didn't want to see standing at my door, Dylan. He looked at me coldly. Mr. Hayes, I didn't expect you to have the nerve to come back. Just because you tricked Lila into recognizing you. You think I can't do anything to you? Actually, from Lila's behavior tonight, I had pieced together the whole story. It was Dylan who had deceived her, so Lila thought I had callously abandoned her for a bit more money. But since we didn't trust each other, neither of us could be blamed. I smiled and said, Mr. Crawford, are you trying to blacklist me? You probably don't know that I recorded our entire conversation back then. I was bluffing. I was so naive back then I wouldn't have thought of such a tactic, but Dylan clearly fell for it. Obviously, Lila was his weakness. Man, this guy was even more of a lovesick fool than I used to be. But the past few years had taught me that the more you yield, the more the other person will push their luck. Dylan was left speechless. As he was leaving, probably feeling like he'd lost, he couldn't resist turning back to say, Lila and I are getting married next month. I know, I said, waving him off. She was a virgin when she lived with me. I've trained her well. Her skills in bed are top-notch. I wish you a happy wedding night. I slammed the door shut. That felt good. The humiliation Dylan put me through back then was something I had already moved past, but he had kicked the table, causing my mom's photo frame to fall and shatter. I had finally gotten my revenge for that. After signing with Olympus Records, I was suddenly incredibly busy. If it weren't for Kate reminding me, I would have almost forgotten about Lila's wedding. On the day of the wedding, I showed up as promised. I never expected to be the main character. The wedding invitations were to be torn open on site to serve as entry passes, but the bride's name on it was Lila, and the groom's name was Ethan. All the guests were utterly shocked. Dylan was furious, even getting on his knees to beg Lila, but it was no use. The incident immediately shot to the top of the trending topics, dominating the top 5 spots. Lil and Ethan, who is Lila's groom? Dylan the fake groom. Ethan the dark obsession, Fake death billionaire heiress romance becomes reality. Lila in her wedding dress took the stage and, in front of all the media, told the story of what happened years ago. She said it was all her fault, that she hadn't told me her identity because the Harrison family was in turmoil and she wanted to protect me. She said she had never promised anything to Dylan or the Crawford family, that the wedding was her creation from start to finish. She had always said she was getting married. She never said who the groom was. She also said she knew Dylan's temper and that he had hired people to smear me as a homewrecker. She knew that once I became famous, I would be dragged through the mud for the rest of my life. And even if the truth came out, the damage would be done. So she had to nip that scheme in the bud. Finally, Lila, dragging her long fishtail train, walked up to me, who had been standing there stunned the whole time. She actually got down on one knee, held up a ring, and proposed to me. And of course, I rejected her. After rejecting Lila's proposal, I became famous overnight. I became a role model for men everywhere. So you can actually pick up a beautiful wife on the side of the road. This guy's ancestors must be buried in the right place. The heiress got on her knees to propose. It's not true love, what is? With her status, men would be lining up to propose to her. Still a jerk. Deception is deception. Humph, Ethan, don't be a fool. Make the heiress sweat a little. I wasn't actually trying to make Lila sweat. I took advantage of the unprecedented publicity and released my new album. I had spent 3 years polishing that album, and the reception was fantastic. I topped the charts on every major music platform. My career skyrocketed. Within a year, I had won awards and was a household name. I had a lot of fans, and my biggest fan was Lila. After her failed proposal, she started pursuing me, and the heiress's pursuit was just as dramatic as everything else she did. When I went to accept an award, she had a motorcade of a dozen luxury cars clear the way for me. No matter where I had an event, she would show up on time. Any product I endorsed, she would buy out the entire stock and give it away to my fans in a lottery. For my birthday, she bought out the ad space on every digital billboard in Times Square to celebrate. Did the princess win him back today? Became a permanent trending topic on social media with daily updates. I had made myself perfectly clear, but since Lila insisted on doing all this, I stopped responding. I focused on building my career. I didn't dare to stop for a moment, afraid that if I did, I wouldn't be able to move forward again. I had started from a much further starting line, so I had to run faster than everyone else. One night, as I was leaving a hotel after an event, a van came speeding towards me, aiming straight for me. I couldn't dodge in time. The next second, a slender, familiar figure appeared behind me, wrapped her arms around me, and threw us both forward. Lila and I fell to the ground together. She landed on her back, shielding me with her body, so I wasn't hurt at all. Chaos erupted around us. After a checkup at the hospital, I was fine. She had fractured a bone and needed to be on bed rest. The driver had already been caught. He was sent by a rival company. Lila was forced to stay in the hospital for a few days. Kate kept dropping hints that I should go visit her. I didn't respond, my eyes fixed on a key in my hand. This key had fallen out of Lila's coat pocket when she tackled me. It was the key to my old family home in upstate New York. After my mom passed away, I couldn't afford a burial plot in the city, so I took her ashes back to our hometown to be buried. When I faked my death and left, I was in such a hurry that I forgot to take the key. How did Lila have it? I bought a plane ticket and flew upstate immediately. Standing in front of the old house, I unlocked the door. What hit me wasn't dust, but fresh air. The house was spotless. My mother's photograph was placed in the center of the mahogany table, surrounded by fresh offerings. I walked over and knelt on the cushion. Next to the incense was a stack of envelopes. I picked one up. The date written on it was from 5 years ago, right around the time Lila had regained her sight, but was still hiding it from me. To my beloved husband, Ethan, by the time you receive this letter, I will have already left our home, but this is only temporary. Don't worry, we bowed to heaven and earth before Mom's memorial, and we consummated our marriage. You are the only man and husband for me, Lila Harrison, in this lifetime. That will never change. First, I need to formally reintroduce myself to my husband. This is Lila Harrison, the eldest daughter of the Harrison family of New York, the heiress to Harrison Holdings. Height 5 feet 6.5 inches, measurements. My social security number is 110-1x-x times x times x. Lying to you when we met was something I had to do. Husband, you must read this letter carefully and give your wife a chance to explain. That day when you found me in the alley, I was actually, before I left the old house, my next-door neighbor Mrs. Gable called out to me. Is that you, Ethan? Hi, Mrs. Gable. It's been a long time. How have you been? Doing great. Why are you here alone? Didn't you bring your wife? Have you had kids yet? A boy or a girl? Wife? I'm not married. That's not right. You're lying to this old lady. Your wife comes every year to visit your mom's grave, not just on the holidays, but on all the big and small ones too. She always brings so much stuff and shares it with us neighbors, saying we must have looked after you when you were little. I was stunned. Came to visit my mom's grave every year? Ethan, you found a good one. She's beautiful. Looks like she comes from a wealthy family, but she's not afraid of getting her hands dirty. She even stays in this old house of yours. Last year during the holidays, I saw she was here and brought her some roasted sweet potatoes. I heard her crying by herself in the room, calling your name, saying how much she missed you and asking when you would come back. Oh, and the year before that, I think old Mrs. Miller from down the street told her you were dead. She got so mad, she broke the old fence post at the end of the lane with her high heel. She said you would never die, that she wouldn't believe it, and that she would wait until you came back. See, that girl was a lucky one. She really did wait long enough for you to come back. Look, all the fences on our lane are brand new now. I heard they cost tens of thousands of dollars. Your wife had them installed. After they were done, she even sent every family rice, flour, oil, and meat. She said if you ever came back, I shouldn't tell you about her kicking the fence. Oh dear, why did I just tell you? I just stood there. Yup, this girl was a rich fool, confirmed. I took all the letters and flew back to the city. That night, when I arrived at her hospital room, windswept and rain-dusted, Lila was eating porridge. She clearly didn't expect me to come looking for her. The moment she saw me, she shot up from the bed, knocking over her bowl. The porridge spilled on her, but she didn't bother to wipe it off as she walked towards me. Her beautiful large eyes were fixed on me, and her slender, pale leg bumped into a chair. Her secretary trailing behind her whispered, Miss Harrison, slow down. Mr. Hayes came on his own. He's not going to run away. My gaze shifted to her arm in a sling. I immediately barked. Your arm isn't healed yet. Don't move around. I helped her sit down. She stared at me from up close, the joy in her eyes practically overflowing. Her secretary tried to say something else, but Lila gave her a subtle kick, and the secretary winced and backed out of the room. Why are your hands so cold? Lila asked gently. I'll have someone send over some hot soup. You weren't in the ward these past 2 days. Where should I have it sent? This was her way of prying into my whereabouts. This girl was still so bossy. I smiled. You have so many spies planted around me. Do you even need to ask? Lila pouted and fell silent. There it was again, that pleading kitten look. Ethan, I went back to my hometown upstate. I pulled out the letters. I only read the first few lines of the letters. The rest, I want to hear from you directly. I'll ask, you'll answer. Okay. She agreed without hesitation. I'll tell you anything you ask, including my bank card pins. I have over 100 cards, and all the pins are your birthday. I was speechless. From Lila's answers, I finally pieced together the full truth of what happened. Back then, when I found her in the alley, she had just been in a severe car accident. The person behind it was her father's illegitimate son, her half-brother. He had hired a hitman from out of state with the sole purpose of killing her for the inheritance. For the first week after I took her home, her memory was indeed jumbled. Her mind would drift in and out of clarity. That's why when I asked about her family, she couldn't answer. It took about half a month of recovering at my place for Lila's mind to clear completely, but she didn't tell me her identity right away. She didn't want to drag me into her problems. At the time, the Harrison family was in the midst of a war of succession, something even I, who only ever heard gossip from the alley, knew about. When her grandfather passed away, I should go visit her. I didn't respond, my eyes fixed on a key in my hand. This key had fallen out of Lila's coat pocket when she tackled me. It was the key to my old family home in upstate New York. After my mom passed away, I couldn't afford a burial plot in the city, so I took her ashes back to our hometown to be buried. When I faked my death and left, I was in such a hurry that I forgot to take the key. How did Lila have it? I bought a plane ticket and flew upstate immediately. Standing in front of the old house, I unlocked the door. What hit me wasn't dust, but fresh air, The house was spotless. My mother's photograph was placed in the center of the mahogany table, surrounded by fresh offerings. I walked over and knelt on the cushion. Next to the incense was a stack of envelopes. I picked one up. The date written on it was from 5 years ago, right around the time Lila had regained her sight, but was still hiding it from me. To my beloved husband, Ethan, by the time you receive this letter, I will have already left our home, but this is only temporary. Don't worry, we bowed to heaven and earth before Mom's memorial, and we consummated our marriage. You are the only man and husband for me, Lila Harrison, in this lifetime. That will never change. First, I need to formally reintroduce myself to my husband. This is Lila Harrison, the eldest daughter of the Harrison family of New York, the heiress to Harrison Holdings. Height 5 feet 6.5 inches, measurements. My social security number is 110-1x-x times x times x. Lying to you when we met was something I had to do. Husband, you must read this letter carefully and give your wife a chance to explain. That day when you found me in the alley, I was actually, before I left the old house, my next-door neighbor Mrs. Gable called out to me. Is that you, Ethan? Hi, Mrs. Gable. It's been a long time. How have you been? Doing great. Why are you here alone? Didn't you bring your wife? Have you had kids yet? A boy or a girl? Wife? I'm not married. That's not right. You're lying to this old lady. Your wife comes every year to visit your mom's grave, not just on the holidays, but on all the big and small ones too. She always brings so much stuff and shares it with us neighbors, saying we must have looked after you when you were little. I was stunned. Came to visit my mom's grave every year? Ethan, you found a good one. She's beautiful. Looks like she comes from a wealthy family, but she's not afraid of getting her hands dirty. She even stays in this old house of yours. Last year during the holidays, I saw she was here and brought her some roasted sweet potatoes. I heard her crying by herself in the room, calling your name, saying how much she missed you and asking when you would come back. Oh, and the year before that, I think old Mrs. Miller from down the street told her you were dead. She got so mad, she broke the old fence post at the end of the lane with her high heel. She said you would never die, that she wouldn't believe it, and that she would wait until you came back. See, that girl was a lucky one. She really did wait long enough for you to come back. Look, all the fences on our lane are brand new now. I heard they cost tens of thousands of dollars. Your wife had them installed. After they were done, she even sent every family rice, flour, oil, and meat. She said if you ever came back, I shouldn't tell you about her kicking the fence. Oh dear, why did I just tell you? I just stood there. Yup, this girl was a rich fool, confirmed. I took all the letters and flew back to the city. That night, when I arrived at her hospital room, windswept and rain-dusted, Lila was eating porridge. She clearly didn't expect me to come looking for her. The moment she saw me, she shot up from the bed, knocking over her bowl. The porridge spilled on her, but she didn't bother to wipe it off as she walked towards me. Her beautiful large eyes were fixed on me, and her slender, pale leg bumped into a chair. Her secretary trailing behind her whispered, Miss Harrison, slow down. Mr. Hayes came on his own. He's not going to run away. My gaze shifted to her arm in a sling. I immediately barked, Your arm isn't healed yet. Don't move around. I helped her sit down. She stared at me from up close, the joy in her eyes practically overflowing. Her secretary tried to say something else, but Lila gave her a subtle kick, and the secretary winced and backed out of the room. Why are your hands so cold? Lila asked gently. I'll have someone send over some hot soup. You weren't in the ward these past 2 days. Where should I have it sent? This was her way of prying into my whereabouts. This girl was still so bossy. I smiled. You have so many spies planted around me. Do you even need to ask? Lila pouted and fell silent. There it was again, that pleading kitten look. Ethan, I went back to my hometown upstate. I pulled out the letters. I only read the first few lines of the letters. The rest, I want to hear from you directly. I'll ask, you'll answer. Okay. She agreed without hesitation. I'll tell you anything you ask, including my bank card pins. I have over 100 cards, and all the pins are your birthday. I was speechless. From Lila's answers, I finally pieced together the full truth of what happened. Back then, when I found her in the alley, she had just been in a severe car accident. The person behind it was her father's illegitimate son, her half-brother. He had hired a hitman from out of state with the sole purpose of killing her for the inheritance. For the first week after I took her home, Her memory was indeed jumbled. Her mind would drift in and out of clarity. That's why when I asked about her family, she couldn't answer. It took about half a month of recovering at my place for Lila's mind to clear completely, but she didn't tell me her identity right away. She didn't want to drag me into her problems. At the time, the Harrison family was in the midst of a war of succession, something even I, who only ever heard gossip from the alley, knew about. When her grandfather passed away, he left the inheritance to his most beloved legitimate granddaughter. The other illegitimate children were furious, believing a woman couldn't inherit the family business, and they did everything to obstruct her. Her father openly moved his mistress into the family estate. Her mother was sidelined, and Lila herself was targeted and went missing. She was afraid her vengeful half-brothers would come after me. She was biding her time, gathering her strength, waiting for the right moment to strike back. For those 5 years, I wanted to tell you the truth so many times, but I was afraid you'd be as scared as I was. And I was also afraid that you would think my identity was too dangerous and you wouldn't want me anymore. Actually, by the 3rd year, my trusted assistant had already found me, but I had him protect us from the shadows without alerting anyone. If my brothers had found us, the consequences would have been unimaginable. I pursed my lips. After a moment of thought, I couldn't help but ask, "Then what was that about you hugging Dylan outside my apartment?" Lila's brow furrowed, and then she understood. "So you saw that and misunderstood." That day, one of my brothers had found me. Dylan and I were putting on a show for him. My eyesight also briefly returned at that moment, for about 20 minutes, and then I went blind again. Besides, the Crawford family and my mother have business ties. Dylan's father really wanted me to win the succession battle. Dylan was just acting as a messenger. I suddenly remembered how when she was hugging Dylan, her eyes were scanning the surroundings. It wasn't because she was afraid I would suddenly appear. It was because her sight had momentarily returned, and with an enemy lurking in the shadows, she was on high alert, observing. The company needed me to preside over a meeting to turn the situation around, so I had to leave in a hurry. I didn't dare to come back for you. I wrote all these letters, planning to mail them to you as soon as I got back to the company to tell you the whole truth. I asked Dylan to give you a sum of money and act out a scene where I was dumping you, telling you to get lost. That way, my brothers wouldn't target you. They would think you were just an insignificant pawn I had discarded. I just never expected that Dylan would go behind my back, give you extra money to leave, and even Photoshop bed photos of us. And I never expected you to actually take the money and go. Before you left, you even said you'd found a rich woman who wanted you. Do you know how long I was angry about that? Every time I got angry, I would end up hoping that rich woman you liked isn't as rich as me, so that when you come to your senses, you'll still come back to me. Lila's beautiful eyes stared deeply into mine, her voice thick with emotion and self-blame. I'm not saying all this to push all the blame onto Dylan. Ethan, I know I was wrong. I should have explained everything to you sooner. I understand now that love is about facing everything together, not just thinking you're doing what's best for the other person. Ethan, I'm sorry. I love you. Can you give me another chance? I didn't answer Lila's last question. Once all the misunderstandings from the past were cleared up, I felt we were both at fault. My fault was being too cowardly, not having the courage to ask for the truth. Her fault was being too arrogant, not understanding the meaning of loving someone. Love should be about sharing everything, big or small. The 5 years we were apart, we couldn't blame anyone but ourselves. We just didn't know how to love each other. A month later, Lila was discharged from the hospital. I also announced on my social media that I was in love with someone and was waiting for the right moment to confess to her. Lila didn't ask me who it was. She just sent me a message. If she doesn't treat you well, tell me. I'll have someone beat her up. Yup, that's my heiress. I called her back. I have some gossip for you. After that stunt you pulled at the wedding, Dylan's reputation was ruined. He left the country the next month. Yes, I know. All ties between the Harrison and Crawford families have been severed. There will be no more business dealings. As for Dylan, if you want him to pay more. I laughed. No, he's actually taking it pretty well. He sent me a text yesterday apologizing, said he had a whirlwind romance abroad and got married. His wife just gave birth to twin boys. He asked me when I was going to accept you. And what did you say? Didn't you see my post? I'm in love with someone else. Oh, what about you? Met any new guys lately? Oh, I've been busy lately. Lila changed the subject. You're at a shoot, right? Did you have breakfast? Kate must have gotten you something. You got it for me, didn't you? She went quiet. I could just picture her. That little kitten look. No, a mischievous little kitten that never learns her lesson. Bossy, proud, yet so careful. I tell her not to get me these things, and she always obediently bows her head and apologizes, then turns around and does it again. When I ask her about it, she just plays the victim. How can a woman be so good at being stubborn and so good at taking care of someone? By the way, Lila, your mom came to see me a few days ago. She came to see you? What did she say? Don't worry, I'll talk to her. She said you're not getting any younger, that you should get married. It's not good for your health to have kids any later. She asked me if I had any thoughts on the matter, and you? I'm in love with a girl. At my concert next month, I'm going to publicly confess to her. You'll be there, right, Lila? Oh, I'm busy next month. I have a business trip to the US. I probably can't make it. Lila's voice suddenly dropped. Even her breathing seemed to stop. It felt like she was about to throw herself into a river out of spite. I held back a laugh. Oh, is that so? Well, that's a shame. If the leading lady isn't there, I can't confess. I guess I'll just have to find someone else to love. I heard a loud thud from the other end of the line. It must have been Lila's phone hitting the floor from excitement. Her secretary's voice came through immediately. Miss Harrison, don't run. Your car is right over there. I'll drive. I know where Mr. Hayes' event is. You can't drive with your arm like that, and you're wearing high heels. 3 years after Lila and I got married, she gave birth to a daughter. When our daughter was 5, we took her back to my hometown upstate. We stayed in the old house and took her to pay respects at my mother's grave. Grandma, our daughter's clear, sweet voice echoed through the mountain forest. I'm Annie, and I'm here with Mommy and Daddy to see you. Mommy says she'll love Daddy very much, so you can rest easy over there, Grandma. Daddy says you used to be a great singer too. I'm learning to sing now. I'll sing a song for you. I wrapped my arm around Lila's slender waist, looking down at our daughter, who looked a little like my mom. My heart was filled with a sense of blissful peace. When our daughter was tired of singing, I carried her on my back, held Lila's hand, and we walked slowly together. The sun was rising on the horizon. Babe, I called her softly. Lila tilted her head to look at me, her beautiful eyes filled with love. You know, babe. I leaned in, whispering mysteriously in her ear. I've loved you since the moment I met you. A light flared in Lila's eyes, brighter and hotter than the morning sun. She stood on her tiptoes, pressed her red lips to mine, and said word by word with the utmost solemnity, Husband, I love you too. I swore to myself a long time ago that I only wanted you. If I couldn't have you, I would never marry. Lila loves Ethan until death do us part, for all eternity.